When you realize how fake it all is, the football, the basketball, the Lady Gaga, the Justin Bieber, who gives you these carbon tax messages. They tell your kids they got to love Justin Bieber, and then Bieber says, hand in your guns, pass the Cybersecurity Act, and the police state's good, and then your children are turned into mindless vassals who now they look up to some twit instead of looking up to Thomas Jefferson or looking up to Nikola Tesla or looking up to Magellan. I mean, kids, Magellan's a lot cooler than Justin Bieber. He circumnavigated with one ship the entire planet. He was killed by wild natives before they got back to Portugal. And when they got back, there was only like 11 people alive of the 200 and something crew, and the entire ship was rotting down to the waterline. That's destiny. That's will. That's striving. That's being a trailblazer and explorer. Going into space, mathematics, quantum mechanics, the secrets of the universe. It's all there. Life is fiery with its beauty. It's incredible detail. Tuning into it. They want to shatter your mind talking about Justin Bieber.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to the largest show on the internet, episode 49 of Large Lads, with your host, ancient 23-year-old Max Sheether, Sam Sheether, and Coach Kong.
Leave a happy birthday, Max, in the comments.
Leave a like and a comment. That's the number one gift you guys could give me.
Max would be really sad if you don't say happy birthday for our engagement. Max takes it really personal when these do well or badly.
Yeah, let's video underperformed, boys. So we've got to beef up the number.
He walks into our living room. He's like, "That's Large Lads. It's pretty bad, huh?"
Well, it's my show.
It's true.
All right, me and Sam, we're both like 5 and 6 weeks out, respectively. So let's talk about meat prep mistakes. Yep. Common meat prep mistakes. Any things to avoid? Kirsten, you've also prepped for the most things here, like the most different variety of.
I think getting too stressed out, way far out from the meat, is a mistake that I've made before.
We're like 8 weeks out, being like, oh, I'm getting nervous.
Yeah, and then you kind of stay in that fight or flight the whole time, and then you're just miserable by the time you're peaking for the meat, and that adds way more stress and fatigue onto what you're already prepping for. So that'd be my number one. I also see like people, I talk about this all the time, but people basing the whole block off of numbers that are not to comp standard. Mm-hmm. So then you're peaking to attempts that are not gonna pass. That sucks.
Yeah.
You know, people over-report their maxes, like when they hire you, because they think people do it with pre-writtens, right? So it's not unique, right? But people will be like, well, if I was going to get a 5-pound PR out of the Candido 6 week, if I just tell it my PR is 10 pounds more than my current PR, that means it will give me a 15-pound PR. And the number of people that I think are reasonable dudes that have done this, and I'm like, stop over-reporting your max to me. The program runs better off of a number you can actually hit to comp standard.
It is very funny, the number of I would call reasonable smart dudes that we know, that it's some amount of not wanting to admit that they're not as close to all-time strength than they currently are, or I'm gonna make way better progress. They do be I'm gonna ambitious.
Thinking they're gaming the system.
Yeah.
Or I need to count for the rapid progress I'm gonna make back. We can adjust it at the halfway point. Just give me your actual current. You could come in and actually, I'm super aggressive. Kirsten has seen my thing. The longer I've coached in my onboarding forum, right? The thing I send people send back to me.
Yep.
My phrasing has gotten more and more aggressive with what do you think you could hit any day on your worst day? Your current maximum, I keep adding more descriptors of not what did you hit 2 blocks ago and you feel pretty strong still. What could you do right fucking now? Yeah. The program runs better off of that.
You've had a very funny one of you'll be like, I really don't want to have a bad block with this person, and I think they're over-reporting. So you'll just be like, on Monday, go hit an SPD day. Just work up to moderately difficult singles, and we're just going to run it off that instead.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's kind of Kirsten has had this once or twice where it's damn, you're almost getting signed up for failure if someone has a misunderstanding of their starting strength. Because you could increase from 5 pounds from that, and they'll be like, that's not very good. And it's no, you started 20 pounds down.
Yeah.
Every piece of evidence I have suggests you started not from that point and that this was actually a very good block. But then they're going to be disappointed with it. They're like, oh, I worked all that work for 5 pounds? And it's like,
Realistically,
sometimes
that's
you want-
25 pounds from your starting point.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So sometimes I just be like, you know what? Maybe prove me wrong. Maybe prove yourself wrong. Before we start, just
More
go,
likely the second one.
go in and just, so we're on the same page of what our actual starting point is. Go in and test.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not that taxing for like someone who's not like wicked strong. It's not like they're buried for 2 weeks afterward because they went in and like, oh man, my deadlift is actually only 200 kilos right now, not the 215 I thought it was.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of guys who, especially where it's like people who like have real up and downs in their like training intensity or like how seriously they're doing it. Where it's like if you've been like kind of like putting around for like 10 weeks or whatever, before starting a pre-written, it might be worth it just because
Just a test.
Yeah, because like don't put in your all-time best. People are like, I'm gonna get way stronger. And it's like it's a lot better to like maybe make up that work on your accessories or whatever. Like you can make up that like extra difficulty. If the main work is like outstandingly hard by the midpoint, that's kind of fine. Rather than like trying desperately to catch up on your first week and then failing week 3, whatever. Like what
Yeah.
should be a reasonable percentage.
Yeah, failing a set in a pre-written, right?
Yeah.
Because you're working off of a wrong maximum. But as far as like comp prep things, I think a big one kind of ties into what Christian said, which is like being too miserable too early. Like we've talked about through blocks, we periodize how locked in we are. Thinking that if you're someone who hasn't been doing this for a very long time, thinking that you can lock into 100% perfect variables 10 weeks out leads to people being wildly burnt out and failing.
It's also so funny because it's like I like I understand because I'm a bit of a dude bro myself.
Yep.
I get the idea of being like I'm going monk mode, Dorian mode, like
Yeah, but lock
I'm
in.
giving everything to this or whatever. But it's like the idea that you think that eating a cheeseburger with your family on 4th of July, fucking 12 weeks out, is gonna affect your numbers at all.
Yeah.
Where it's like you being like having more fun outside the gym and then going in with more focus 6 weeks in is gonna be way more productive. So like I'll sometimes be like I want to be like rah locked in, but I'll like kind of force myself to go do fun things now because I know I'm not going to be 4 weeks out, and I have to be like I actually can't stay out late at all. So like it's very funny like the idea of like being like overly like gusto and rah is like actively a detriment for most people.
Yeah, and like a lot of people just like, no, I'm not trying to be a dickhead, right? But like a lot of people just can't do it. Like you're never locked in. What the fuck makes you think you can just go from never having been fully locked in to like 10 weeks of perfection? It's a skill. Like dieting is a skill. It's like people are like, I'm gonna start a rigorous diet. It's like you're gonna burn out in less than 5 weeks because you didn't build into it. Or I'm gonna eat like a huge amount of food. You're gonna burn out in less than 5 weeks because you didn't like. People build into their diets. They build into these high adherences. This idea that you're gonna go from this guy that I know that binge drinks on the weekend to like I'm not gonna miss a single fucking gram of water guy. That's not gonna, especially for like, maybe you could set the goal of like the final 2 weeks,
Yeah.
right? Like we ramp up into it and that way you're not completely mentally spent by the end. That's what I did myself last year at the Rainier is I did lock in like 12 weeks out to like perfect variables. And I think that was good. I don't think that exhausted me because I've been doing this for so long and like my bad is still like about 90% adherence. That was fine. But I also like, I pushed so hard in training, just being like do more, be more, do more, be more. And like, that was like my mantra. I was physically in great condition and I wasn't injured, which is usually you push too hard, you end up coming in banged up, and then you have like a shitty showing because you're banged up. And like that's a big skill is showing up not banged up.
Yeah.
Right? Like Alec was talking about that. He's like, not half the people in every strongman especially strongman because it beats the shit out of you, they remove themselves from contention by showing up so injured.
Yeah.
Just showing up healthy is worth it, right? I was very healthy and I was very strong, and I was so mentally tired that like I could not find any adrenaline on a comp day.
Yeah.
First time that's ever happened to me. Because I was digging deep through that training, which is so funny because like I did not organize. I was like, my deadlift was up in like the mid 8s by that point, like, and that didn't matter because it was like 635 for reps, and like I was so strong at none of the things we were contesting too, but I was strong as shit at that show.
Yeah, it's very funny because like it feels counterintuitive that like being hyped for every session is actually way worse for hype. Where it's like if I'm like I need to go kill my 10-week out like volume set, right? By the time I get to the end of the block, I'm usually like, I just gotta go in and finish this session. Whereas like I think I've done a better job this one of being like I'm ramping hype. I would say this most recent Saturday is definitely the most hyped I've been, and that I'm hoping to just like continue that trend. And then when on sessions that are not extremely high exertion, still coming in with like relative, like this isn't the make or break session of the prep, knowing the goals I need to hit or whatever. The one that I was going to mention that is something that I messed up last prep that I feel like is a really good takeaway for me at least, is that I like way too late into prep was like, I need to be putting on strength. Like I was like truly
you were like pushing accessories. You were pushing accessories too late.
Yeah, like 2 weeks out, I was like, I need to do as much as I humanly can.
Guilty of this one.
Where I was like, I need to be stronger to be able to hit my goals. And it's like, I would be in a way better shape if I had just followed what we do every other block, which is follow the plan of like taper fatigue, have better singles. And then my singles kept moving like shit because I was super fatigued from being like, I need to claw every ounce of strength I possibly can.
Yeah, when I think like, I always think it's interesting, right? Because there's like objective reality and then there's what's the mindset you should have as an athlete. And usually they aren't the same thing. Because everybody's like, man, why are all of these elite athletes like delusional weirdos? Why do they have absolutely no self-awareness? Because that's helpful, right?
Yeah.
You wouldn't have made it to be in the UFC if you were like a rational person. You'd realize that's a very, very bad thing to stake your career on.
Yeah.
Right? Like rational people don't foresee themselves adding 500 pounds to their total. People who are a little bit out there are like, yeah, why not? Right? And it's like, those are the people that a lot of the time end up doing it, even though objectively the other guy knows more kind of what's going on and probabilities and genetics. And I think, it's interesting because like sometimes, we make videos and talk to people and try to be functional humans. So it's like you try to balance like the dumb shit that's in your mind that you kind of need to be in that mindset of like, I'm indestructible.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like, of course that isn't true. But if I'm acutely aware that like, yeah, bench pressing 600 is a lot of weight, that can just tear my back off.
Yeah.
Right? If I'm acutely aware of just how like, the odds aren't like crazy. It's not like 1 in 4 times it'll tear my pec. Even if it's 1 in 50. That's terrifying every time I go to bench, right?
Yeah.
So like, I'm indestructible, right? Like, I think one of those things is you realize early on that like, man, pushing yourself is critical. That's the biggest difference between most people in the gym who see results and don't, is the people that just know how to push themselves, get it. It's like, that's step A. So I think you wire yourself to almost like pathologically need to push yourself, right? And like, I know a lot of guys who it's like a weird form of like self-harm. It's like they need to like harm themselves in the gym and do something really hard, or they're very existentially unhappy, right? And I think that gets you to a certain level, but that's just not how preparing for sports work. And so it's like if we come in and you're on your miscellaneous day, and you're just like, I need to harm myself, or like, you're like, I'm a piece of shit if I don't push hard. And that's kind of how you've wired yourself.
Yeah.
Even though that brought you to that point, you're now going to have a worse result. And then it's like the next level up is being like, I'm going to do exactly what's needed to get better. Because at this point, it's not just about pushing hard. It's about doing exactly what's needed to get better. And so I need to arrange my psychology to be the guy that does exactly what's needed.
Yeah, I feel like I remember it was a piece of advice I heard when I was like really, really early lifting from like a Chad Wesley Smith video, that he was like, the most common mistake I see in terms of like game day performance from powerlifters, because like, a lot of guys don't have like sports backgrounds, is the idea that you need to do different things. Or like, his example was like the guy who was like, oh, I'm gonna eat this awesome new meal on like to give me superpowers, and then they have like indigestion, almost shit themselves on squats or whatever, and like just being like, whatever you have normally for breakfast, just eat that. You don't need to do like this super meal. Nothing is going to be like magically make you better. The optimal outcome is that you're normal. Because if you prep well, normal is great. Normal, like you're going to hit your goals if you're normal. And in that same way, like my block, I don't need to do anything like magically different from my block. Me and you know how to progress my training. I know how to get stronger. I don't need to like be like, I need to work way harder on this aspect of training, because it's like usually I just burn myself out. I can do a better job of things. Like I'm not training perfectly by any means, but like a lot of the things that like I can do a better job of aren't like the cool raw things, because I like doing the cool raw things, and I almost always am doing a good job of like going hard on my main lifts and like doing good accessories. But I'm like, I should be getting extra walks in. I should be doing a little bit extra cardio in the early block. Like there's a lot of the extra things that I can do better. But it's like, don't like just be like, I need to kill myself to like gain this strength. Like I need to change or like being like, oh, I need to write a brand new program to like kill my meat. And it's like, just do the last one that worked. Like whatever worked for you last time, just run that into the meat, and that's a way better plan. Like do a better job maybe. Like if you're like a guy who's like, food is something that I struggle with, like try a little bit harder on your food, run the same block. that is probably going to be the best outcome for you. You're not in like a position to like magic wizard, right? They're your best possible block.
Yeah.
All right. This is a. Oh, do you have one?
I was just gonna say, I reckon that's because people set goals that on some level they know they can't do.
Yeah.
So they know they need the magical meal, right?
It's really funny because it's like we've seen a lot of people who have made great progress doing that. Or it's like you set a goal that feels too far, and so you train harder to like accommodate for it. I've done that as well. We see people doing it all the time. But it's also people that burn out because they do try harder than normal, and then they fail anyways.
And that's
they're
what
like,
I mean,
well,
like-
what was the point of it even? It's like you made great progress.
Yeah.
You just said you were going to hit a 20-kilo deadlift.
That
PR.
one winds me up when guys are like, I'm going to hit a 40-pound PR. And then they hit a 30-pound PR, and they're like, shit sucks. And it's like, wait, that's such good progress. You just set the bar really, really high. But like that was great. That was an amazing block. Do that a couple more times, and you're a phenomenal competitor.
There was a dude at like one of my meets who went 5 for 9 and was like, yeah, I hit PRs on all my lifts, but like went shit. And I was like, that's crazy. You just had horrible projections of what you were going to be capable of.
Yeah.
It sounds like you had an awesome block though. Like the fact that you were on second attempts taking ambitious PRs.
Well, you and I know, right? Like there's no bigger sign that a young lifter is going to burn out than if the first thing they tell you is that they're going to win World's Strongest Man one day.
Oh my
Without
God.
fail, those guys are gone in like 2 months. And the reason I assume that is because they're saying something that they have no idea how much work it takes, right? Because people talk about like, oh, speak it into existence, right? The power of visualization, right? Like, like Eddie Hall talking points, Conor McGregor talking points. Like, think big and then make it happen, back it up, right? And it's like, for that to work, you need to know at least what it is that you're saying, right?
Yeah.
Like when Eddie Hall said I'm going to deadlift 500 kilos, everybody was like, yeah, fuck you aren't, right? He knew, he's like, I'm going to have to work ungodly hard. I'm going to need to do a speed pull at 1,000. Like he had some idea of what that is.
Yeah.
If you don't have an idea of what it is that you're shot calling, like even if that's something that like, if you're like, Sam, I'm going to bench press 550.
Yeah.
You don't know what a 550 bench is yet. You should focus on 520.
Yeah.
Right? But even 550 would be okay. I think you got a pretty good idea of what like 550. But if you said, Sam, I'm tired of playing small ball. I'm going to bench 600, same as you.
Yeah.
And I'll be like, Max, to be honest with you, you don't know what that is. You don't know any of the accessories. You don't know what that is yet. Aim for something that you know what it is. That's ambitious. Like the ambitious thing that you know what it takes. Maybe if you're like, it's so funny though, because some people like speak things into existence and they get some of that dopamine as if they did it, right? Like they get this sense of satisfaction telling someone, they're like, yeah, I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, I am going to do this. And it's like, no, you don't get any you haven't done it yet. You don't get any credit for having said that you're going to do it. And like, then I think they don't have enough shame. Because it's like, that's the power of my Road to series on YouTube. It would make me so embarrassed if I don't get one of these.
If you just gave up.
I will move heaven and earth to make sure that I keep my 100. Like, it'd be so embarrassing. Because, everybody's sort of like, Road 2000 deadlift. And then, like, they never get any close and they abandon the series. That would embarrass me that people are going to remember that I shot called that. So I'm going to fucking do it. Like, I will make sure I eat extra food. Remember, I'm like, God, people are going to laugh at me if I don't strict press 405.
They're all going to laugh.
I'm gaining something from that. Whereas like some guys, I guess they're not embarrassed enough. Like I know guys that are like, yeah, I'm gonna bench for 500. And they're like, what about, hey, remember when you told me like you've given up completely? That's crazy.
I feel like we've done a better job for my prep specifically this time, and that we've picked goals that I think we both have been like, that is the top end of like, if this prep on this lift went perfectly, this is what we could hit. So I have that like extra like fear in my mind of every training session that I'm like, I need to get there. I have to. That's too much weight.
Yeah.
But I'm also like, oh, if we have to do 5 kilos less than that, that's still an awesome day.
Yeah.
Like I've been like, if we take off, 15 kilos off my goal total, that's still a really good day. Like, and so like, I'm like, I have these goals and I'm like, God, squatting this number would be so fucking rad.
Yeah.
And so I have like the extra motivation of like every leg extension, I'm just like, think about how fucking sick it would be if you did this. Like it feels like it feels like a meaningful jump in level, but also still within the realm of like both me and you being like, this is 100% like just if it went great, like if it went perfectly, this is what we could do. And I think that has been a really good for me is to both be like, this is a goal that I want to do. I'm okay if we go just fall short of it because I'm still landing among the stars.
Yeah. When you also know what it's like, that's the thing is they're all numbers that you're like, I know exactly what prep would need to look like for me to feel comfortable attempting it. right?
Yeah.
So it's like kind of like you know what that means, right? Like as much as that's a weird way of saying it.
Yeah, like what my last attempted like squat in prep would look like before. Like I know what it would look like if we were like, we're
if
doing
you
a
want
little
to
bit less than
pull
that.
850, like
Yeah.
we know what prep would need to look like. We know what we would need to hit on like certain things and certain rep PRs and how certain singles would need to move. So then it's like, okay, that's an ambitious but useful goal.
Yeah.
Not just an ambitious but completely useless goal, you know?
Yeah, it is very funny to me that like we're always just like I can't like people who are like real big like I gotta talk it into existence. Was like just think it into existence, you know? Like, I don't know if you need to say it. I think you are right that it's like a statement of like trying to like convince themselves and like giving themselves that like confidence. Where it's like, if you really believed it, you would be like, I'm gonna secretly do this and everyone's gonna be shocked. But like the fact that you don't believe it is the reason you keep fucking obnoxiously saying it, and it's like, I don't know why you're DMing me that you're gonna beat my records, but okay. Like, I wish you luck, bud. The number of people who have
Max has received so many of these over the last, because Max had a bunch of like teenage lifts that were like pretty big
I'm
milestones. Like,
still getting DMs now.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm gonna beat your 15-year-old record. I was like, that's awesome.
Awesome.
I hope you do. I don't know if this is like a threat to me that you think this is gonna like. I'm a full adult man.
Like I can't take it back.
brother, I'd be like, dude, I've got a mortgage. Please take my teen 2 deadlift record.
Just you're like, damn, bro, you're gonna pull 400 pounds less than me. Get after it.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. How many people message you like, I'm gonna crush your record? And it's like, okay, that's awesome.
One, look at your Momo. I don't think you are.
Reminder, little lore drop. At the time, Max was the youngest man to ever deadlift 800 in a competition.
I was the first man. The first teenager to ever deadlift 800 in competition.
It was usually not the first man to deadlift 800.
First man to ever deadlift 800 fun fact.
You're like 50 years late.
Sometimes I think about that I'm slowly creeping up onto like the heaviest pull in the 1960s. Like, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's two ways that I'll sometimes conceptualize my progress is what weight classes am I now beating? Where like when I was really young.
How good would you have been in 2012 when Raw was first? I'm
Yep.
like, oh, I would have been the man. I do look at that often. I was like, oh man, the records have come so far. I would have been somebody at this point.
Yeah, I'll either be like, oh damn, dude, I know I'm total the best 63 kilo in the world. I just gotta keep scaling weight classes, or I keep scaling decades.
Yeah, SSJ Bob's making that a little hard.
No.
And I got a little bit of a cap right now.
I'm good. Number of reps tier list. This has been a contentious debate in our house. What is the coolest number of reps for a set, and what are lame dork mode?
Oh, this is tough because I feel like in terms of performance, triples are super cool. Sets of 6 also super cool. But I am not a don't do more than 6 reps person because I also like to have an idea of what my 12 RMs are in the back of my mind. So I feel like I like even numbers. I like a 6, an 8, and a 12. I like to know what those
So,
are.
really quick, traditional tier list style, S through F, right?
Okay.
1, an obvious S tier. 1 is the coolest number of reps.
3, I would also put S tier.
3, a triple is good. Just
A
the
triple's
word
cool.
triple really is single-handedly carrying 3 reps.
It could be like high A or low S tier as well.
I think I might put a 3 because like 3 is like it's like whoa, he could do so much more for a single skill.
yeah.
2, I think it might be like A or B tier to be honest.
See.
C for a 2.
This is just coaching brain. Max effort doubles. I don't like them.
I almost see it as like this is like a lamer single.
Yeah,
Like,
that was honestly like a really early revelation for my programming for me and for you was like we used to do what they did way back in like the 70s, which is like you wouldn't even touch a single, you'd end with a big double and then you'd go compete and that's your single.
Yep.
Right? Like, it's traditional periods. You start with some 10s and some 8s and some 5s and some trips, then some dubs.
Yep.
And you wouldn't necessarily even do a single, and you go compete. And I was like, that sounds, it makes sense to me. Right? We did something like that. And at some point, I was like, hey, if you just take the weight you would take for the PR double, and you do it once, and then you rack it, it leaves you just as strong and less fatigued for the next week. So then the single goes better. And you're not drilling bad technique on that breakdown double going into it was just a massive improvement in how we did things. It was whatever we were going to take for a double, we hit for a single. So I've come around, like I see athletes do max effort doubles, I'm like, yuck.
It's really funny.
Yucky.
I completely understand the logic though, because it is kind of backdooring your way into what you should take as a last jump is what you can double. Where it's like, guys who were doing more than that, probably a bad idea. Like the guys who were maxing out pre-competition. So it's like you got to just do a double. Where it's like, yeah, that is a good way just to trick every athlete in the world to taking the right amount of
it's
weight.
a simple leave it, save it for the it's a simple version of save it for the platform, right?
But I think you're all right. Where it's just like every time we did a double, my pull always looked a little shittier. I was probably carrying a little bit of extra fatigue.
You're a little fatigued.
And I'm not
You drilled the
gaining
habits.
anything. Where it's like, oh, you need to practice how to grind, and it's like, I don't think I do on this one. Like I can practice how to grind earlier. I don't need to grind out a really ugly 95% or whatever.
Well, I think a lot of it was just like, I think, me and I talked to a lot of athletes that like DM me asking for like advice, and a lot of them have navigated to that. Like I end with a big double.
Yep.
And that's how I prove to myself that I'm ready, is I need evidence that I'm like, I'm nervous. I'm not like a delusionally confident guy. I need evidence to suggest that I'm good for a PR. And they would like, so if I want a single PR, that means I need to have hit a double PR. And it's like, you need to get to the point where doing the double PR for one builds more confidence than the double itself, Yeah,
like we were just saying, like, oh, I know I moved this weight that would approximate to this, and obviously that feels a little bit more floaty, and like you have to like be a little bit more like tapped into like what does it mean to like actually move to project to 50 pounds more versus 30 pounds
you need data,
more.
right? What is moving good? What is good technique? Like,
so 1, S tier. 2, I kind of agree. I C tier, I kind of understand. It's heavy enough that I'm like, it's a little bit cool, but I really like, I'm like, it is just a slightly lamer single, and that's redundant. 3, A or S tier, really cool. 4,
Nah.
B, I think 4 is fine.
yeah.
5. Just for the Mark Ribito pronunciation of 5, another S tier. This is the area of debate, is whether or not 6 is cool.
I like 6s, but I know you like 7s, which is so weird.
I put 6 at D tier.
Really?
A 6RM, I'm like, that's so lame and embarrassing. It's like a weird fake. It's like a consolation prize in my mind. It's like that's my my fucking participation rep PR. Is that like, oh, I really need to cheese a rep PR. I guess I'll go for a 6 because it's not 5, which is awesome, and it's not 7, which is.
Why is 7 awesome to you? This is so interesting to me because I like 8 was always the number that like I learned from Sam is 8 is important.
Yeah, I guess 7 in my mind is 1, it just gets me more clout on Instagram. That's just a correlational thing. Is that like, I feel like that's the point in which it becomes like volume, where it's like, holy shit, he's doing that. Because I'm 6, I'm like, that's still a strength set.
Okay, fair.
And so I'm like, doing 1 extra rep, it suddenly becomes like a different type of amount of work that I'm doing. Where like I said, 500 for 6, pretty, or like 525 for 6. Less cool than 500 for 7, for sure, in my mind.
Interesting. Yeah, because I never knew you about your 7s thing until like 6 months ago.
It was really funny because I thought everyone felt this way.
Yeah.
Leave in the comment below. What
What's
is
your
the
cool
coolest number of reps?
Yeah, because when I was like grinding stiff legs, I got to 2 plates for 7, and I wanted 2 plates for 8 so bad. But I like really, I did 7s for weeks and weeks and weeks, and I was like, okay, fuck. And then my performance started dipping because I was like getting in my head. But then I learned from you that 7s are cool, and I was like, I should have been so excited. I was always
learned
so
from you that
sad.
7s are awesome. Yeah.
So I kept being like, fuck, I got 7 again.
Anytime I've done an accessory or like
Check the battery.
Yeah.
like a stiff leg set and I got 6, I'm like really disappointed because I'm like, I was 1 shy of it being a cool set, and if I was gonna do 5, I might as well do way more weight. I also think 8s are cool. So 7 S tier for me. I don't know what you guys are gonna place it, but easy S tier for 7.
We're at 18% better.
Okay.
Sam, where do you place 7s?
7's F tier. Your obsession with these is really weird.
F tier?
No, they're definitely not F tier. Like B or C. I don't
B
know.
or C? What about 6? Where are you placing 6?
B or C.
Okay, good. All right. If you wait, okay. At least you're not ranking. Is 8 take a tick up?
S.
S tier for 8?
Yeah, 8s are badass.
That's crazy.
8s. I don't know if you know this. 8s give you giant muscles.
See, okay.
7s give you small muscles, right? All this debate online.
Yep.
People are like, why would you do more than 5 reps? Mm-hmm. Because then you're not at 8 yet. That's why you need to do more. You need to go to 8. Otherwise, you'll be small and weak and frail.
8s and 7s in my mind are the same thing, except you can do more
A
weight on a
7's
7.
a failed 8.
God damn
A
it.
7's a fast, sad, failed.
9
8s,
is a D.
sets of 8 make your muscles big, large, engorged, and cool. 7s make you atrophied twink.
Okay, 9s, it's a failed 10, so that's a D tier.
Yep.
A 10, pretty cool.
10s are badass.
I'd say like an A tier. I don't know if it's a full S, but that's a good A tier.
11 is a failed 12.
Yep, 12 is an A.
12 is sick.
All right. I'm glad we finally settled that debate. Let us know in the comments if 6s are cringe or goated.
All right, I need to make a very serious apology for my usage of the term mansplaining last episode. I just want to say that doesn't reflect my views, and also that most of my in-person clients are millennial women, so I hope that you all can understand why I would say that.
Kirsten has built up her pandering habits.
I've never seen someone be more rattled. Like a person be like, I can't believe I said that. I was like, that got to you? I did not.
Well, because I think it was because the second I said it, I was like, that was bad. That was cringe. I should not have said that.
You guys, Kirsten was marching around the house after that episode went up, being like, "I committed cringe. I've done it. I've committed cringe. They all hate me now."
Take the episode down, guys. Training momentum, over, underrated, and how to maintain it.
Wildly underrated by everyone ever. It's the most important thing.
Also, the guys who are shilling for it are lying, because then they just clearly aren't maintaining
It is
training
funny
momentum.
to see that some of the people that shill for training momentum, then just the second they're doing good, are like, "Oh yeah, I loaded up a giant deadlift and failed." It's like, you were just saying how cool momentum was. God damn it, dude.
Yeah, it's funny because I feel like a lot of the guys who are saying training momentum mean it in a different way than me and you, where for them it means don't oversend a mid-block
Well, they
lift.
needed to string enough, but they just meant they needed to string enough momentum to attempt the Hail
get
Mary
to a
deadlift,
PR, yeah.
gym deadlift PR.
Yeah, it's so funny because I'm like, I feel like this has been a great principle of ours, and that the fact that say you've talked about take the 5, take the 5, take the 5, secure the chip.
Yep.
If you're insanely strong, get a 10 and then run away because it's a lot easier to hit PR the next block. Because that's what training momentum is if you don't overextend yourself at the end of the block, you can probably ramp into the next PR a little bit easier and probably take it a little bit easier, and then you can get to the next one a little bit easier. And it's so funny because it is so tempting to be like, I'm at a 470 deadlift right now.
Especially if
God damn it would be cool if I got to 5.
Yeah, especially if you perceive that being at the next level is close. You always want to take it a block early.
Yeah.
Right? If you're at a 480 deadlift, right? And you're like, man, how I got to 480 was I've been doing a 10-pound chip each block because my training's been going predictably really well. That same guy will usually try to skip the 490. And I totally understand why, because you're like, I'm entering a new echelon of lifter with the 500. Set yourself up to keep going, right? It's hard, but that's something we did better with you than I did myself.
And
right?
I still didn't do a very good job.
Where I was pretty good at getting it done, and then my training following that would be really kind of worse in quality.
That's always my worst plateaus, is if I take a big Hail Mary and I get it. And
Yeah.
it sounds stupid because it's somehow missing it is worse or is better, because then I'm like, all right, I got to redouble my efforts, and then I'll probably take the slightly humbler number because I'm like, fuck, that was embarrassing that I missed.
Yeah.
And then I end up getting there. It's a little bit more disappointing, but my training is rolling better. Whenever I take a full Hail Mary and get it, I'm like, I'm not happy for 6 months. I've cooked myself by by going for this number. I somehow managed to full string it together, slightly dubious lockout or short bench pause or whatever. That it can really nuke your training more than most people do.
100%. What's the last question? Just trying to remember. I'm just trying to make sure we get all of them in before the battery dies.
Are the youth being corrupted by cringe?
Yes, but they always have been.
Okay,
This is my new philosophical kick I'm on.
Yeah, here's my talking point, right? I feel like people are always I'm at my great age of 23 years old.
Yes.
I'm starting to understand the boomers being like, these kids suck ass, right? And then I go into real life, and I'm like, adults, every person sucks ass.
That's
the
what I'm
average
saying.
person is bad. I feel bad for saying that, but part of it is that I work in a factory, and that might be a bad selection bias. But I'm just the average person is no good. They're dumb and mean and rotten-hearted. But there are cool people, and
Yes.
they're awesome, and they come in the most random places. That I run into a person, I'm like, you're a chill dude. What the hell?
Yeah.
And so every generation is going to have relatively chill dudes.
Yep.
I will say, in terms of this generation of lifting, they're confident. Are they like this every time?
I assume they were back when the whole thing was volume is the primary driver of hypertrophy. Volume, that was the evidence-based guy.
Yeah.
You're a fucking idiot if you think
This is
otherwise.
16-year-olds making think pieces and calling IFBB pros fucking mongos.
I honestly, I think it's always been this. Like I said, this is my big philosophical kick. Is everybody's the world's fucked. It's always been fucked. Look into it. It's and people are people suck. People have always sucked. Look into it.
Yeah, the whole just oh my god, we're getting the youth is getting so much dumber.
Every
and
generation
bad.
is the worst one yet. Every time.
And
it's
I
been
think we should have
happening.
more access to seeing teenagers doing dumber and dumber things. Where
For
it's
sure.
You're telling me in the 50s there weren't kids doing awful, mean, horrible things? I bet there were.
Listen,
Playing in the asbestos pile.
Yeah, in the 1950s they were notoriously really good to everyone.
And like I don't love I'm not a big like conjugate guy by any means, but like actually here maybe this would be a good example. Let's go powerlifting. Let's rewind a little bit more than a decade. You had young kids telling powerlifters far better than them, like, what, you do conjugate, you fucking idiot? He's like, sure, it's interesting.
But they were right.
Interesting. And it's like, he is a far better powerlifter than you, and his career result is going to be significantly better than this guy who's like, I'm of this informed new generation. Conjugate sucks. And it's like, you are never going to accomplish anything in the sport, even if you're gifted, right? Because it's not the program, it's the intangibles, it's a lot of the effort, right? And it's like, this guy knows more about powerlifting than you'll ever know. He happened to come up in an era where that was directed down the route of learning more about conjugate methodology. But it was the same thing of people calling people far more versed in an activity than them idiots with a ton of confidence.
It is funny because it's like training methodology, I think, is moving obviously in like a generally like more correct.
Some people disagree with that, which I think is interesting.
Really, that like we're not moving towards a better training model.
There's a couple of guys I follow on Instagram that are adamant that it's like no, it's the training model is just different. It's no better, no worse, and that the gene pool is the reason for the rising result more so than anything.
You've dropped a really fun fact that the average powerlifting total essentially has not gone up.
I believe that is true,
There's just as many people who are bad as there are good.
Yep.
And so it's like our top ends
outlier
have gotten really, really, really good. Like
there's more really bad and really good people, which is just the nature of having a bigger and bigger gene pool, but the average result has stayed fairly steady, which would support the idea. Well, maybe it doesn't support the idea that training methodology isn't getting better. It would support the idea that the average lifter is going to be limited by effort. Like, that would probably support the idea that the average lifter is limited by effort, not methodology.
Yeah. Which I think is true. It's just like, I assume people are no more or less hardworking despite that being like a big talking point. Where it's like most people don't work hard at anything. That's, I assume, always been true.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't take long to find, like, everybody who watches this knows, like, there's, some guy who's like constantly flexing his 50-hour work week, and it's like, I see you during that. You're just sitting on the toilet for like half of it, like you're scrolling your phone, right? Like there are absolute, like, you're not working the full. Some people do, of course, right? There are people that do a ton of work, but there's always that guy that brags about how much he works that does jack shit while clocked in, and that's like a point of pride for him. There's always been those guys. I don't know, man.
Yeah, well, it's like you'd assume with the better access to really good equipment. Like the fact that like plates are better, bars are a lot better than they were 30 years ago or 40 years ago. And like the idea of like we have access to like way more, like I can go and I can pay $1 or $0 to watch a YouTube video from one of the best lifters in the world or one of the best coaches in the world explaining it. And it's like, but that doesn't mean anything because most people aren't going to do that.
Yep.
Whereas like most people at our gym don't know who the best in the world is. They don't know who their coaches are. They've never watched a video on powerlifting outside of Instagram. So it's like, even if there is all this access,
you have to be motivated enough. Well, that would like support that. Like, Luke Richardson talked about this ages ago, where he's like, if you're motivated, there's some, like, me 20 years ago wouldn't have gotten as good because he didn't have access to as much information. But it's only the really motivated, interested people, such as the Large Lads fans, that seek out a lot of information and can repeat a lot of interesting talking points that it would have been really difficult to find in the past. Like, you had to seek out, like Dan Green was like, I went to competitions to ask these dudes in person, how the fuck did you get your deadlift so big?
Yeah, where it's like the idea of I don't know, like if lifters, presumably if we're like average it out and they have not gotten that much better despite there being all this stuff, right? It's like, I wouldn't be like, it's not an idea that's like, whoa, how is that even possible? Because I'm like, people aren't like, back in the day, it's like if somebody really wanted to be strong, they might go move to the place that the really strong guy is, right?
Yep.
So it's like these, like the people who are like really motivated to try and accomplish a goal are probably going to succeed to some extent, and the people that aren't going to, like, even if you give them all the information and all the access to the world, and I'm like, watch a 15-minute video, watch the Berserk Method, shout out Paris, where it's like you have a really consumable 2-hour video that does a really good job explaining training principles, and it's like, I'm not going to sit down and watch a 2-hour video, and it's like, yeah, I mean, you're not.
You don't care enough to watch free information,
which
right?
is
Like,
totally
that's telling.
fine, but it's just like
the Sika guys have kind of been like, man, is this a unique phenomenon to lifting where people who know nothing about a discipline go and tell people that are professionals in the discipline that they know how it really works?
I was
like, I don't think that's unique to lifting at all.
Every football comment section. There's a bunch of dudes being like, hey, he's a fucking idiot, doesn't know what a left or right. If it wasn't for my bum knee, I would be a pro too, god damn it.
Yeah, people are telling people, like, and it's like people with unbelievable level of confidence with very, very low levels of understanding is not unique to lifting at all. Like, I got my goat gotten today by, shout out to Jack Osborne, Big Laws' client, doing the heaviest Viper press ever done at 440 pounds. Absurd, unbelievable, crazy feat of strength. Some of the strongest shoulders out there, right? Someone commented, like he put like, heaviest one motion log ever. Someone goes, how is this the heaviest one motion ever? There are Olympic lifters that have done a 220 kilo snatch. And it's like, it's a log, it's a Viper press,
Yep.
right? And he's like, yeah, but the weightlifters could this could be beaten by a 60 kilo, like Chinese lifter. What are you talking about? A snatch and a log are not the same. A Viper press is a strict press.
That's what I did get your goat.
It's just crazy. Like, do you have no idea? Like, even if you didn't know what a Viper press is, if you lift, you watch the exercise, you roll it, and then you press it. It's a strict press. It's most similar to a strict press. If you watch that and be like, yeah, this is fundamentally the same as a snatch, fucking Lee Dayan could go grab a log and throw it over his head. You're a moron. How are you talking with so much confidence? And like, first of all, none of these, like he was like a 69 kilo Chinese Olympic lifter could do this. 69 kilo Chinese Olympic lifters don't snatch 200. You don't even know much about weightlifting.
Yeah.
That is the funniest. There's guys who like worship the Chinese team, which amazing athletes, super cool, like weightlifting. But they don't even actually know their numbers.
They just say, "I
where
love
they're
the
like,
Chinese."
yeah, dude, like someone will comment on like a crazy 800-pound squat and be like, this isn't impressive. This guy's like 300 pounds. Lu Xiaojun can do this. No, you don't even know Lu Xiaojun's numbers. Get the fuck out of here. You don't even know anything about weightlifting.
You're stat padding. What the fuck?
I don't think they're stat padding. I think they're like, Lu Xiaojun has a lot of plates on the bar too. And he's way smaller than this guy. He's way better. And it's like, you don't even know his lifts.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in.